Nerdly Kingdom, Season 2, Episode...
Take 16.
Beep.
Action.
Marker. Okay. Let's record.
All right. Hello, you beautiful internet people.
And you ugly ones, too.
You're all beautiful. You know who you are. How we're just going to do every episode now. It's like so monotone because we just know we're going to say it.
Internet people.
I don't even know what episode we're on.
This is
3 of Season 2.
Yeah.
We're talking about Umbrella Academy.
I love umbrellas. They keep you dry in the rain.
I
the
kept trying to
only
look
thing
for
I've watched
stuff.
this year.
Jesus. I kept trying to look for stuff, and I kept typing in Umbrella Corporation. I was like, that's not right. Apparently, that's a Japanese shooter game, because that's the thing that kept coming up.
The thing is, when they first started talking about it in
Well,
Discord,
no, not the only thing. Umbrella Corporation is also...
I thought y'all were talking about Resident Evil. And I was like...
It seems weird that Resident Evil wouldn't come up when I searched Umbrella Corporation. But it was the Japanese... Because I guess I was typing in Corpse, like C-O-R-P-S.
Umbrella Corp, I believe.
Is the game. Anyways. I don't...
How do we start?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know how to start this. Want to do some background on what it is?
Yeah, okay.
Let's let Lori talk about it.
A little bit of
I don't
background.
know. I was like, it was a book or a comic or a graphic
comic
It's
novel
a comic.
book thing.
It's a comic book done by Gerard Way.
Gerald Y.
It's
I spelled
like,
it Gerald Way, like whey protein.
hold on, because I feel really bad because it's done by two people, and I know Gerard Way because
Who
My
doesn't
Chemical
know
Romance.
Gerard Way?
But it's done by I'm still stalling. Of course, now only the TV show shows up when I search it.
It's popular.
This is research I should have done beforehand.
Popular. I hate that song. That's a wicked song.
it's created and written by Gerard Way and was illustrated by Gabriel Ba. It's got an exclamation point over it.
Bah.
But so it's been going for years. It's kind of a very sort of X-Men-y feel. I've had people compare it to Watchmen.
Yeah, I get Watchmen, X-Men, and Hellboy vibes from it.
Yeah, it's this random happenstance where these women, I think 43 women around the world, suddenly became pregnant and birthed a baby all in the same day.
Yeah, waiting for that
time.
to come into play.
Yeah. And well, see, in the comic book, only 7 children survived. It says those words, 7 children survived.
Oh.
The show, however,
didn't.
says he only got 7
Yeah,
children.
I was like, that could definitely come into play later.
The comic book and the show are very different while keeping the same theme.
Which I don't have a problem with. I kind of like that, actually.
The comic book, Reginald is an alien.
Yeah.
Like, he's not, and people have their theories.
They haven't necessarily disproved that in the show.
I feel like the show is more grounded from what I've read compared to the comic
But
book.
I mean, yeah.
And Reginald's even worse in the comic book.
I'd believe it.
And everything. But it's like, so you've got these 7 children who grew up with their superpowers.
Grumpy, sneezy,
happy,
sleepy.
Doc.
You know, I'm making a joke, but that's not really super far off. Actually,
it's not very far off.
Wait, so you wait. So you have Strongy, and I don't remember the exact order.
You got
of these.
strong man, angsty boy, rich girl.
I'll call her Talkie.
Flamboyant goth.
Jumpy.
Who's
number 6?
6 is dead boy.
Yeah.
Boy.
So Tentacly, and then Normie.
And then you got Ellen Page.
I made that whole joke for Normie. Damn it, that shit's funny.
But so they're all kind of raised, and pretty much he exploits them for their powers because he wants to have an X-Men group, but without saying X-Men.
I want to say real quick because I've just been re-listening to the Annihilation books.
Mm-hmm.
The second book is so good, but in the first Annihilation book, they didn't have names. They just had their job, and him not giving them names. They're just number 1 and number 2. I was like, very telling from the very beginning. It's like, these people are gonna be fucked up when they get older.
Yeah. And so, 5 is 5. I don't know why that didn't register in my head.
Yeah. I don't know why. Oh yeah, I do. Never mind. Because they didn't have actual names.
Well,
they gave themselves names.
No, Mom gave them names.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
He had Reginald
Five, because 5 got fucked up.
That's what I'm saying. It couldn't. It didn't.
jump.
At least my point was it didn't happen immediately.
Apparently,
they don't
it's
say
like
it in the
5 is supposed to have a name, but he just doesn't go by it.
Oh.
So there's either rumors that 5 wasn't there to be named,
That was what I
or
was
5
thinking.
chose not to go with his name because
'Cause
being in the apocalypse
Do
alone that long, it's like,
do
what's
they
the
explain any of that in the show?
point? No.
I just assumed when they grew up they gave themselves names, and since
No,
number
mother
I mean,
gave
that-
them the names.
that
They
totally
say
makes-
that in the show.
Oh, I totally missed
Yeah.
that. I missed that, so I just assumed they gave themselves their own names, and number 5 just never got to grow up. Well, sort of.
Normally. Well, none of them grew up normally, but no, Mother gave them their names. And then in the comic books, they even have
Grace.
like superhero names. And so you've got Space Boy, which is literally Luther's name, Space Boy. I can't remember Diego's.
Monkey King.
Allison is
The
rumor.
Yeah.
Klaus is Seance. And
Does 5 have a?
I think he's 5.
Number 6 is Ben 10.
Ben 10.
His joke is
Number
his name
6 is
is
tentacle porn.
His name is Ben.
I've seen enough hentai to know where this is going.
Yeah, that was weird.
He's cool though. But
Yeah, there's gonna be spoilers from this point on.
Oh yeah,
Sorry, guys.
yeah.
We got a lot to
There's-
talk about.
it's a Netflix thing.
Yeah,
So,
just
and it's been out.
we'll go as long as we can without spoiling it, but we're gonna spoil it, even though Lori
Snape
already
kills
spoiled the
Dumbledore.
comic with
I
the whole
like
alien thing.
how
No, that said on like the first page.
Well, I didn't know it, so I have been spoiled.
It's been out since like 2013 or so.
what?
the
The
comic.
comics.
Oh, it's been out. Yeah, it's been out.
It's been out for a hot minute.
Because isn't that what he worked on after the band broke up?
No, he worked on it while the band was still
Oh, I
together.
didn't know that. Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
What band?
But
That was a joke.
I liked how they did this.
You rode in my car in high school. You know what band.
Like they're messed up because of their upbringing,
Mhm.
and they're messed up because like they have no sense of identity because everything's tied to their powers, and they've
Yeah.
messed up their own lives as a result of their powers.
And I feel like on top of that is that they're messed up on the not no sense of identity because of their powers, but the weird sense of identity they got because of their powers.
And they were never trained on how to deal with their powers.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he took them all and kind of exploited them to make this superhero group to save the world. But he never really, like, actually trained them on how to handle having powers. Like, you've got Rumor, you got Allison, who...
Spoilers are
she-
starting right now.
Well, I mean, she has the ability to be like, I heard a rumor.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
Why is it going to start with I heard a rumor? What is specific power? How did you figure that out?
There's a lot of them. I'm like, how did y'all learn y'all had that power?
What is number one's power? Is he just tough? He's just strong?
He's just strong.
So he just went from being strong to...
To being a monkey boy strong.
My favorite thing, in that, maybe not in the whole thing, but one of the things I laughed the hardest at is they're in the Cha-Cha and
Hazel.
Hazel. Thank you. I was like, he's my favorite character. I don't know how.
Hazel's fantastic.
Cha-Cha and Hazel are in the mansion, and they see his shoes. Like, damn, someone's been eating his Wheaties. That was just a stupid line. I laughed so hard at it.
In the comic books, one of my favorite things is Diego and Luther are arguing, and Diego calls him Monkey Boy, and Pogo overhears it and gets super mad about it.
I'm surprised that didn't happen.
I love Pogo.
Pogo was, yeah.
Pogo was my favorite. It was
That's
funny
what
because
they were trying to do that. Just so
I made
you'd be
a
upset at the
joke
end.
because I was like, when Pogo gets thrown into the deer head, I turned to Maggie and I was like, you know, they only killed him because he was too expensive to keep around, right?
Break shit. I also want to go on record saying that I called the ending on like episode 3. I even messaged her
I
beforehand.
predicted the whole thing.
was-
I mean, it's not like it wasn't predictable.
It's not like
though.
it's this.
It was.
I hate to say it, but it's not like it's the same storyline of every X-Men ever. That there's a movie coming out right now.
Exactly. Like, that's what tipped me off was that one.
I was like, oh, this is a Dark Phoenix thing.
When 5 time jumps and finds all their bodies.
You don't see Vanya's.
Vanya's isn't there.
But then you could
I wasn't
also
that smart to figure that out.
One
And
of the
then I
things
picked
is
up on the Dark
Vanya's
Phoenix
body
vibes.
wouldn't have been there because Vanya was kind of cut off from the family. Like, you know, 5 wouldn't have been like, oh, well, Dad died, so they all came back.
I want to know how
He would have just been like, oh, well, Vanya wrote that book. They all hate her.
I want
So,
to
of
know
course,
how that
she's not
original
here.
timeline happened, or is that original timeline the same timeline where everything exactly the same?
I think it's the same
including
every
him,
time.
including him going back in time to save them, but he didn't jump back in time with them. That's the only difference. Because how did she blow up the moon the first time?
I think it's the same. It's the same instance every time, and that they just haven't figured out a way to break the loop. And that was the point of the ending.
Also, as cheesy as it is that they had Leonard
We jumped
kind of
to the end of this way too
manipulate
quick.
her.
We should have went to the beginning first.
It's fine. But they had Leonard kind of step in and be kind of like this really manipulator, you know, like, oh, you are special.
Yeah.
You are important. It's like, I bet you do have a power. Look, you can do this. It's, you know, and everything is so much better than what was in the comic, because the comic is Vanya is still a violinist, and she gets an invite to go to this thing, and she goes in and she's like, what am I entered, you know, and this guy in like a mask and everything's like, I'm the conductor and I'm creating an evil orchestra and these are all my evil players and we're gonna play a song that destroys the world. And out of the huge group of people behind me, we need a violinist. I'm like, have you seen an orchestra? Do you know how many violinists there are in an orchestra? Like, Vanya would not be the only violinist, but he literally is like, and I need you to play this beautiful solo so that we can finish destroying the world. That's it in the comic book.
And she just agrees?
No, there's a lot of manipulation and persuasion to get her to join, but
What a ass backwards plan.
I think I hate Leonard so much.
Yeah?
you're not supposed to like him.
I mean, I know you're not supposed to like him, but it just pissed me off, like how obvious they made it that he was the antagonist from like the beginning.
Yeah, well, I don't think they necessarily needed. It wasn't like they never really played it off as a big reveal either, though. So I don't really.
I know,
wasn't-
but that
it
was
was
the
never-
thing. The way they played it off, I was like, there's no way they're making it this obvious. I thought it was going to be a red herring, and it turns out, oh, he's just a nice guy the entire time, and it's just playing off of the team's intuition.
But
So
I
fucked
think
up.
what it was they weren't trying to trick you with Leonard. They were
Yeah.
never trying to trick you
It
with
was
Leonard.
always about.
It was more of you are literally watching this train about to hit into a wall,
Yeah.
and you can't stop it. And nothing you tell that wall will make that wall move.
It was her journey into this madness, her descent into.
Because
Words
she's
are
so
hard.
damaged from being
Yeah.
told she was absolutely nothing by not only her father but her siblings, thinking she's absolutely nothing, that the first guy who walks along and says you are something and that something is spectacular whether you have powers or not, you're going to fall for that. Like, you're going to fall for that, no matter how obvious it is. He could have wore a t-shirt that said, let's destroy the world together and then have coffee. And she probably would have still been like, he loves me.
I feel like that list needs to
Okay, so-
reorder a little bit.
My interpretation of the ending.
I'd wear that on a t-shirt.
My interpretation is that they're going back in time to when they were kids, and they're just going to do everything all over again in order to stop.
But everything all
apocalypse.
with everything all over again with the pre-knowledge of what they have. or
Yeah.
they just... So does that mean that she's gonna remember that she destroyed everything? Because they took her with her, with them.
Yeah.
Alright, cool.
I think that's their plan to stopping it. It's
Well-
just being like, well, let's just be nice to each other.
I'm sure there's going to be more than that. That sounds like a Barney
yeah.
episode. Let's
One thing
be
I
nice.
don't understand:
I just got a text message from Jacob.
why did what are they called? The time people,
The Time Assassins.
The what?
the corporate, the whole thing that's running. They have a name. It has a very specific.
Oh,
name.
I don't remember.
I'm with the name. I can't remember. Why did they decide that the apocalypse was necessary? I wonder. I feel like that's important. Why did they decide that that is the timeline they're supposed to go with?
I don't have an answer for you.
Maybe
That's
they
what I'm
fuck something
saying,
up
though.
even more in an alternate.
Maybe.
Like maybe that's what season 2 is going to be, is them being like, oh, we can stop it by doing this, but then they just make it worse.
I think I kind of just accepted it because of Doctor Who's got me such ingrained with fixed time points.
But I don't
like
think it is
things have to
fixed.
happen.
That's my point. Is like I don't feel like it is fixed. So I feel like there's a reason that apocalypse needed to happen. So I'm wondering if there's something worse around the corner.
There could be.
I like that Hazel was zapped back in time with them.
He was.
Mm-hmm. That made me really happy.
Was he? I don't think that was him being zapped back in time.
No, I'm pretty sure it was.
He fulfilled his contract. They said that if the apocalypse happened, he'd go and spend the rest of his days with her in whatever timeline he wanted.
That's a good point too.
That's true.
I mean,
So he did get zipped.
that being
Hazel
said, it
and
did
Agnes
look
was the
exactly look
cutest.
like his thing. So I wasn't sure whether that's actually what happened or not.
Well, I
But that's
mean,
the-
but time travel is time travel, so
Yeah, apparently.
it could still look the same.
Well, they
Maybe.
killed what's her name, so there's not really any
Cha-Cha.
oversight. Cha-Cha and the other lady,
The other lady.
the leader lady person.
Oh yeah.
Whose name I can't
I don't
remember.
know what this was.
Oh yeah, I spent all day the other day walking around the kitchen, going up to Maggie and being, what's big guy's name?
Luther.
Luther. Like, I'm Luther. I got the big old monkey body. I live on the moon.
So one of my favorite things, though, is I read an article about like just kind of the costuming and design of the show, and it you kind of take for granted little things in a show that people put so much thought into that you don't even really think twice about. And one of those things was Luther's costume, because the costume designer who made each one, like designed each of their outfits, was talking. They're like, his body's huge. So they tried really hard to make him not just look like big body, little head. And so all of his outfits have very open necks so that his head goes, like, you see his neck. So he has that neckline, and it kind of takes away from that big body, little head.
Oh, that makes sense.
And I was like,
Interesting.
oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
That's
They also made
why we're
sure
not
that
in charge of these things.
Well, they also made sure that out of all of them, Allison's clothes was perfectly tailored because she's
Oh,
famous
yeah.
and she's rich, and that's what rich people do. So
makes sense.
every outfit she has is perfectly tailored
We're
to her
gonna
body.
dress Ellen Page up like a lesbian.
well,
I'm
Well,
convinced
that was-
like Ellen Page just walked onto set with what she had in her closet.
They wanted to give Ellen Page kind of an androgynous look, and then my favorite
they
thing.
focused so hard on the no makeup look. I'm like, did they put on makeup to make it look even more like she had no makeup?
That white suit at the end
Yeah.
is not Vanya's, like the white violin. That is not the white violin suit.
Yeah.
It's actually a bodysuit that looks like a violin, like because a woman's body is. And that was the original costume. Ellen Page went in and said, "No, I'm gonna wear a white suit." And,
It
like,
looked amazing.
Sat there and fought, and guess who won? Ellen Page wore a white suit.
I'm very glad about that.
Well, and it's like there were.
Because it makes more sense.
That's what I was gonna say. In the comic book, Vanya's character as that makes total sense.
Yeah.
That is a comic book styling. It makes sense. Ellen Page would never wear something like that. Ellen Page's Vanya would never wear
Yeah.
something like that. A white full suit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it looks perfect, and it's like formal and threatening at the same time.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful. And it still kind of works with the
How
whole
they got it was a bit
violin.
weird, but
It works
that
with the
point,
violin setting
it does.
too, because that's a
yeah,
like what
the way
a
she
person
got
would
it's a
wear.
bit weird. But I'm not at that point. Like the world was ending, so I'm gonna.
Well, I guess.
I'm not gonna argue that one bit. I love how each of them are damaged
Mm-hmm.
in their own way. Some of them a lot more obvious than others.
Mm-hmm.
Like Luther's damaged twice over
Mm-hmm.
because
Luther was the one I thought was most sympathetic.
she hates him.
I know, but
Are you?
I was more drawn to Luther's story than any of the others because his was just
I
so
went
much
to
more.
the moon.
His was more sad to me because he was trying so hard to be like the perfect superhero, and the whole time he's just being lied to. Like his whole life was just
Yeah.
a lie.
And he's having to
But
and he's having to live with hiding away because of the person he's trying to please is more or less ashamed of
And he's
what
been turned
become.
into a monster.
it's like I guess, but it also just bothers me because if Luther would pull his head out of his butt for like 4
That's true
seconds
with all of
and listen
them.
to any of his other siblings
Yeah,
at
but he's-
any point,
But he's been raised not to. That's why he's damaged.
I'm just like,
Which I think Luther did annoy me towards the end, but that didn't to me interfere with me thinking he was the most sympathetic. I don't think he was the most damaged,
no.
but
Well,
I
no.
felt his
I think he teetered nicely because it's like there were moments where he was endearing and I was like, oh, Luther and everything. But by the end of it, I'm like, I'm going to push you down, monkey boy, and it's going to make a loud thud. And I'll probably hurt my arms in the process. I don't
know. Like the rest of them is just stuff I had already seen before.
That's true.
And so I was just like, Diego's just Raphael from Ninja Turtles.
I don't know what that means.
I like that Diego, because Diego was number 2, and you really kind of see that, like, I'm, tired of being second in command. I'm strong too. I can take charge, but my stupid brother is always right there. And, like, you kind of see that, like, I feel that's why he went off to be a vigilante, so that he could kind of be number 1.
I mean, I understand that. Allison's is probably my second most.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Because it's like
Basically
it's
what
more
hers
it's
came
more
down
and
to.
more sad the more and more you realize how much of her life is just fake.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Like, because they don't ever say, they never explicitly say, but you assume that she didn't actually earn the position she's in.
Yeah.
yeah.
I feel
like-
it's implied a lot.
Yeah, but I don't think they
no,
ever
they
actually.
straight up say it because there's
Okay.
that voiceover of her going through all
I was
of
about
the,
to bring
yeah.
up the voiceover. That
I don't remember that
voiceover
part.
hurt
Doing the-
though, because a lot of that was her
Oh.
talking to her daughter. Like, I heard a rumor that you want to stop crying and go to bed.
Yeah,
I heard a rumor, and
yeah.
then it ends with, I heard a rumor you loved me. And I was like,
But then
Oh,
there in
yeah.
the middle, there's the one. I heard a rumor I'll be perfect for this part.
Oh, I
yeah,
missed that.
so like everything in her life is just
Okay, so they kind of
Fake.
say it, but
Yeah.
I missed that one bit because, regardless, it's still really heavily implied throughout the rest of the thing, anyways.
I also, it's like,
So that'd be tough to live with because, like, you get everything you want and you know that you don't deserve it.
yeah.
yeah.
Although that's still not true because, I mean, she can say that to the director, but if the acting part was still bad, everyone would still say it. But then again, I don't know. It's a whole weird thing.
Yeah. But, and then by the end of it, she loses her voice.
Yeah.
And it's like, I almost wish that would have came out a bit more, but it was just, she had a pad and she'd write stuff to yell at
Yeah.
Luther on.
That was the only. That part was the only scene out of like 2 scenes in the whole show that took me by surprise. Because everything else to me was so obvious and predictable. But her getting her throat slashed and the direction they went with Klaus's storyline were the
Yeah, that was
only
good.
2 things.
That's completely.
that I
His
was like, wow,
storyline.
I wasn't expecting that.
Because in the,
I wanted
if
to
I'm not
bring up his
mistaken, in
storyline.
the comic, you never really know what happened to Ben, and he never really comes back, as far as I'm aware, of what I
Yeah.
was looking into.
Yeah.
And instead of like just him being a mysterious gone, they tied
the
it.
ghost.
They tied it in so well.
That's the thing too, is them revealing the true extent of Klaus's power too. I was like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this is so
Did you
cool.
notice that Klaus's storyline and Vanya's storyline go almost parallel with one another?
Good point, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
It's like-
it's they're both. It's like they both use drugs to cope. It's like, and both their drugs suppress their powers. It's just one doesn't know it does that.
And he's basically treated like he doesn't have a power.
He's
because
basic, yeah. It's like, and he's shrugged off by the whole family, even when he says something valid, when he's completely sober by the end of it. It's still, oh, Klaus, go wear your sister's clothes, and he's just kind of pushed away. But then it's like it goes on. He starts learning his powers. He starts controlling his powers. By the end of it, they're both learning these new powers that they have, like right at the very end.
Yeah, it was just really cool seeing. It was like two completely different people, following two of almost the exact same story arc in 2 different ways from the different viewpoint. I thought it was really good.
That was one of the things that I like how they wrote Klaus's relationship with everyone else. Because, like, if you're someone that has so many siblings and one of them struggled with drug use for so long, the way they treat him is very accurate. Because that's one thing, like, me and Maggie were talking about, how, because Klaus to us was our most annoying character. Not to say, like, he's a bad character or anything, but he was our least favorite. Mainly because, like, Maggie said, basically voiced our opinion on it when she said, Klaus seems endearing to some unless you've known a Klaus in your personal life. And I'm just like, yeah.
I think deep down, though, it's like, it does show that, but Klaus was trying to find anything that could block out his power.
Yeah.
It's like he fell off the deep end.
Well, see, I've known some people like that, maybe not as intimately as you, but that's why I like Klaus's thing, because it showed from that viewpoint of someone that's trying so hard, but still can't. And it's just one of the most upsetting things to see, is because there's nothing you can do. And that's why I sympathize with Klaus so hard, is because it's just, or not sympathized, empathized?
Yeah.
Maybe the other way.
And then
Either way,
that
just
final like breakdown point where he's about to fall off the wagon again, and Ben's like shouting at him, and he's like, "What's the point?" He's like, "I lost the man I love. I can't do anything, and everything." And he puts the pill, and that's when Ben smacks it out, and he realizes, "Oh my God, like my power is different than what I thought," and everything. But the whole Vietnam thing,
that was rough.
The day that didn't happen hurt me so bad.
When I was expecting when he disappeared, I was going to be like, okay, he's going to come back from the future and have some information to share about the cause of the apocalypse.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going to happen,
and
too.
And then what happened instead, I was like, oh,
and then you realize,
because
he comes back with like the blood on his hands and everything, and once you finally realize, the blood on his hands is Dave's.
Yeah.
And you're just like, and the way, like, me and my friends
I think that says a lot about him, too. The fact that the moment things went wrong, he escaped.
Yeah.
Like, immediately. Didn't even stay for a funeral or anything. He just left right then and there.
And everything, and then half of him trying to find his power is motivated to see Dave again. And then he thinks he's about to see him, and he sees his stupid dad.
And it's Dad.
Yeah. Also, God as that salty little girl. I loved that.
Yeah, that was a weird scene.
Did you create me? Well, I created everything, so I guess I made you.
It's like, you're not all out here. It's like, why? I don't like you.
It's like, I thought you were supposed to like everyone.
Why?
I like him crawling across the dance floor to get to that pill, and him getting...
And it has the PTSD.
Mm-hmm. Jeez. There's a lot of heavy crap in Klaus's storyline.
Yeah.
They handled it pretty well. I was actually like happy with the progression of his character, because like the first half of the show I was so fucking annoyed by him, just because of his personality. Like, his character didn't bother me. Like, it's just his personality.
Oh, I mean, that was the point. Is like he was intentionally trying to be that person, so he wouldn't.
He was
have
like Gary King mixed with LOL So Random.
Because at that point in the beginning, he was the kind of person where if you act in a way that no one takes you seriously, no one expects anything from you.
Yeah, I think that's very much who he was trying to be.
Then you have number 5. That was weird.
5 was so good, though. That kid did such a good job.
To the point where they're like, he was gonna get a new body. I was like, they like this actor. Like,
I was like,
the old guy's not gonna do nearly as good as this guy. But
I was like, please let that kid stay, because he had it down pat, like down to like the way he would stand at times.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, I'm actually looking at an adult in a kid's body.
Yeah, I wonder how much of that
he holds that gun in that one scene.
I wonder how much of that was him and how much of it was the director, because they must have tried really hard to like put all that together. They did. It's a group effort that we take for granted.
It's amusing too, because he's a Nickelodeon kid.
Oh yeah, he's that
Nicky, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn.
Nicky, Ricky, Dicky, and Dawn, or whatever. Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Because Frankie Arrow from My Chemical Romance, his child loves that show, And
Oh,
so
really?
he tweeted at the kid, you know, and said like it's, you know, super exciting to see him working in Gerard's project and stuff. And like the kid lost his mind because he's like, "Oh my god, it's Frankie Arrow." And I was like, "Same, bro, same." I would have felt the
Same, bro.
He was I was about to say the bass player, and I was like, no, that's Mikey. He was Fun Ghoul in My Chemical Romance, the one that had the monster hat.
Sure.
Oh, you weren't into Danger Days as much as like
No,
Josh was.
No.
It was the one that Josh was going to dress as.
Okay. Sure. Anyways,
He was one of the guitarists.
down the list is number 6, which we kind of already talked about. Ben.
Which one? Oh, it was Ben.
Poor Ben. He just had to sit and watch his brother kill himself for 20 years.
And yeah. A person pointed out the fact that despite Klaus using drugs to shut out all the ghosts, Ben was still always there. And it's like, they were like, well, it's kind of a testament to like Ben like wanting to be there for his brother.
Is it that much? So how much of it is him wanting to be there for his brother, and how much of it is
Klaus
not
clinging
wanting to be
on.
alone?
Yeah.
Because
God.
when he's alone, that's when the voices start.
True.
Because Ben ain't hanging around while he's taking a bath. That's
I
why
would
they always
kill
bother him when he's in the
myself.
bath.
I would kill myself if I could have that power and my brother hung out around me.
Well, and once again, it goes back to them not learning how to deal with their powers.
Yep.
Because Reginald's like, oh, he can speak to the dead. Learn to deal with it. And just
Yeah.
locks him in a mausoleum. I'm like, you don't do that to a kid. Like, what is this?
I mean, that's what he did to Vanya.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That was the other, like, parallel. Because Vanya was locked in the chamber and Klaus was locked in the mausoleum.
I see what
and
it
they
is.
both screamed for their
No,
dads
what
to
it
let
was
them
is they
out.
locked Ellen Page in a closet. I see how it is.
Yikes.
Anyways. Yeah, we already talked about her.
Yeah.
That's rough, though. That scene where Allison finds out that and Allison realizes the scope.
Yeah.
Of what she did, yeah.
I've had people tell me, like, how did she not realize? Like, when you're that young, she was just doing what she was told. She didn't get what was going on. She didn't know the scope of her powers.
Not to mention, they were still young children being manipulated
So
by
who knows-
their father.
Who knows how much of their childhood they actually remember accurately?
Yeah.
Like, that's...
It's like, you know, it's like he's been training them and everything. It's like, yeah, you tell the kid to do something, they're so damaged, they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know, and she's not really gonna realize.
And she's like, it's awful because you can tell Vanya knows it's not Allison's fault, but she can't help but get mad. And she doesn't really drop it until, you know, she accidentally kills her.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, and you can't blame Vanya either. It's like, that's a lot of information to gather in like a day.
That's a heavy thing. Although, still, damn. I also didn't feel bad for her, though, when she started panicking when the other girl was bleeding out. I was like, well...
That's what happens when you cut someone's throat.
Yeah, it's like, this is one of those times, like, if you've been listening to Leonard and actually practice your powers, this might not have happened. I mean, you're so bad, you're making me sympathize with the bad guy. Don't do that. Unrelated. This isn't related to anything. I was just thinking about it. The scene where Klaus has his dad's ashes and he accidentally knocks it over. His face is so surprised. I don't know if that was intentional. Like, he genuinely looked worried. Like, so worried. It's like, was that on purpose? Or did he actually spill the ashes?
The thing is, you should watch that actor in interviews because his personality's not that far off. Like, that's kind of
the only thing that makes
him.
me think it was scripted is that there were actually ashes in there. Otherwise, why would there not be? But he was just so surprised for a second. I was like, was that on purpose? Like, did he really just spill that?
I also love when 1 and 2 get in the fight and everyone's trying to stop it and Klaus is off there, hit him. And I'm like, yeah, that's siblings.
He's a high Wallace.
Yeah. He is.
Kick her in the balls.
But it's like, I was told, because I started watching Misfits because it's a British show where all these like kind of delinquent kids have to serve do community service.
I was about to
and
say, what you're describing is still Umbrella Academy.
it's similar because they get hit by a storm and they all get superpowers.
Oh.
And Robert Sheehan, who plays Klaus, is the main guy in it, playing almost the exact same character just 10 years ago.
Huh.
He's like this arrogant little prick, and I love him. And he's got the power of he can't die. And yeah. It's a great show. You should watch it.
What is it called?
Misfits.
Oh, okay.
It's an older, I say older, it came out in like 2009.
Why is it in the age of all these good movies, in the Marvel movies, we get whatever Hulk and Black Widow was supposed to be.
Ugh.
But Hazel and the Donut Lady is one of the best, most well-developed romances I've ever seen in a show.
It really is. And it happens so naturally, too. Like, there's nothing about it that's forced or anything. There's, like, this kind of little bit of, like, flirty banter, and he just kind of keeps going back. And
that look where she can't believe that, like, he's actually flirting with her. It was all just so sweet. Even like, someone gets murdered right in front of her, and she's just like, well, everyone has a past. I was like, she's too good.
This
I was watching
show
these
really
when I was
does.
on a really emotional high at the time. I was like, I should not have been watching Umbrella Academy when I was...
But no, this show has 3 of my favorite relationships, and it's Hazel and Agnes, Klaus and Dave, Five and Dolores.
It's so weird,
And
but
I love
it's
the
so
fact
understandable.
that his damaged siblings accept that he is in love with this mannequin and even use it as leverage against him.
Well, I mean, they all understand. He was, what, 50-something
And
years?
it's like, I know this is important to you, hangs Dolores out the window.
Maggie couldn't get over the fact that they had that incest angle between Allison and...
Well, it's like, and a lot of people
Luther.
talk about it, and it's like,
Well, they're not related.
one, they're not related,
Yeah.
and 2, it's not typical adoption.
Yeah, they weren't really raised as
Scenarios.
siblings
Yeah, that's
either.
what I like. I had no problem with it because I was.
They're not raised. They
Yeah.
weren't raised as siblings.
I was
They-
like, I absolutely get where it's coming from. Like, this is something that could absolutely happen in this
and
situation.
At
you
no
know,
point-
if you're shut off like that because they don't have outside friends.
Yeah.
You know, it's
yeah,
just
that's a big thing
them.
too. Yeah,
Like, it's just
I mean,
them.
you've seen Crimson Peak, right?
I haven't.
Oh,
I need to.
spoiler alert!
Spoilers.
when you shut off a brother and a sister, and the only people that know each other, that kind of crap happens.
But it's like, I mean, you
Have
know.
you guys seen Crimson Peak? Guillermo del Toro starring.
I know,
Tom Hiddleston.
And Jim Beaver's in it too. I know, I just haven't seen it.
Jim Beaver?
Yeah.
There's a man named Jim Beaver?
It's Bobby Singer in Supernatural.
Oh, he is in it, isn't he?
I don't watch Supernatural.
My
so I don't
mom's
know
friends with
about
his
that.
daughter on Facebook.
Um,
She added my mom. I was like,
There's
okay,
too many
cool.
seasons of Supernatural for me to even begin to try.
Main
to
character
Just watch
from-
the first 5.
main character from Pacific Rim's in it too. It's a good movie. It was weird though, man. Oh
I
my
want
gosh.
to see it.
I wish
just
we were doing
haven't.
podcasts back then.
I mean, we can always do
I talked about wanting to do
some
like throwback.
flashback. Yeah.
We can't
Reviews.
find time to film or record the ones for the new
When
movies.
we don't, when we're in downtime where we don't really have anything
true.
to talk about, like, oh wow, every single new movie
Stop it.
sucks.
You're making
Williams
noise.
paper noise ASMR.
Where's the noise police?
I'm hungry.
Hi, hungry. I'm Dad.
And Lori is kicked out of the podcast. Dad jokes not allowed here.
It's fine.
No dad jokes allowed. Okay.
We're talking about not, especially not during Umbrella
I'm out
Academy.
of
Dad jokes are
Umbrella
like,
Academy
you know,
notes.
Reginald is a
the
dad
best,
joke.
the best joke that's not a joke, but I still laughed. Is when going back to the incestuous thing is when they're camping out in the thing and Reginald comes and is like, "What are you doing? You know that we have a designated fun and game time from 4 to 4:30 every Saturday." I was like, Jesus Christ!
I saw it and I was like, oh no.
It was at that point I was like, man, no wonder they're so messed up. I
It's
shouldn't
like-
have. It's one of those points I shouldn't have laughed, but I
It's
laughed.
like, no wonder Luther and Allison ended up together. Like, come on.
No one can understand what they're going through except each other. But I was gonna say, do they even, other than Allison and Vanya, do they ever even really, for the most part, they don't even call themselves siblings.
Mm-mm.
Every once in a while, they'll, like, Diego will only say brother ironically. And the only time they ever actually mention someone as being a
Towards
sibling
the
is
end, they
towards the
started
end,
to
yeah.
more, but yeah, at the beginning,
That was kind of my point. Is they don't really see each other as family. That's why they never got together until Reginald died.
I think that the only two that I feel really had a great, like, almost sibling feeling dynamic was Diego and Klaus. Them two, because like where you going? You're not coming with me. And and Klaus is in the back of the car, and then the whole what did he tell him? Because they're about to go into like the hotel room. And he went, I told you to stay in the car. And he goes, yeah, well, you told me to doing this would make my pubes grow.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was.
I don't remember, but I know what you're talking about.
We're going to talk about just how good the writing and the acting is.
Mm-hmm.
The way Klaus acts different immediately after coming back.
Yeah.
And the way Diego picks up on it was just really...
Yeah.
Just amazing to me. Just immediately, he's like, you're not getting it right. He's like, oh, it'll be fine. It's just a little while. And Diego's just like, immediately, are you okay? Like, yeah, I'm fine.
And then him stopping and going into the bar.
God!
And
that whole scene, I almost started crying in that scene where he found the picture. I was like, I don't even know this character, but it's sad.
It's like, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I still don't even fully know what's going on. And I'm like hurting. And then I just love the fact that Klaus turns around on that vet and starts to fight, and Diego's like, all right, and just like joins in.
Well, I mean, he feels like if Klaus is going to start throwing punches, it must have been serious because he's the first one to run away. And, geez, and that's right after his military stuff too. Just Jesus.
And then the when he's tying up Klaus at the end, because Klaus was like, tie me up and everything, and they're talking and he's like, I met someone who, I actually loved more than myself.
Yeah.
Or something. And he's like, well, she must have been and he goes, and then he said his name was Dave. And he goes, well, Dave must have been something special to put up with, with you.
Just like no pause. It's just like, fine. That whole scene, that was kind of rough too, where he's like, begs him to tie him up because he has to get sober. He's like, there's got to be a better way. He's like, not for me.
Yeah.
And then he starts begging for him to let him out. He's like, no, this is for your own.
Oh my God. Because when he was tied up with Hazel and Cha-Cha.
Yeah. That was funny. It's like,
was a great hostage
when
scene.
are you going to tell him there's a special brownies? Like when they're jumping around high as kites.
God, that scene of them like burning the lab.
That goes into something we haven't talked about. The soundtrack for this show is so fucking random, but every song works perfect. Hell, the opening with the Phantom of the Opera was amazing.
That was apparently Lindsey Sterling.
I believe it. It sounds like it.
It's like, from what I read, I could completely be wrong, but from what I read, that was Lindsey Sterling playing Phantom of the Opera.
But then there's like, I can't remember what song. Just
Istanbul.
Yeah.
Playing during the shootout in the diner.
That just seems so weird, but it works so well.
I was like, the second that happened, I was sold on this show.
That song, Dancing in the Moonlight, Don't Stop Me Now, Run Boy Run.
Oh yeah, Don't Stop.
Exit music for a film.
I Think We're Alone Now.
Yes.
The dance scene where you finally kind of see each one of their personalities, because I feel that dance scene right there is the best introduction to what you're going to see from each one of those characters.
Ellen Page dances like I dance.
There's a Tumblr post and it said me watching Ellen Page dance in the Think We're Alone Now scene, and it says, yes, get it, you funky little lesbian. And I was like,
I don't remember how she dances.
Like a funky little lesbian.
All I remember is Luther, just like
Diego, like closing the door.
Oh yeah,
got the moves.
That was really good. That was a good show. Just really well written.
I'm rewatching it.
It's been a while since I've seen a show where all the characters felt like their own character throughout the entire thing.
I don't
can't watch TV that often anymore. So.
Well, that's why.
Yeah.
But, okay, that's enough about that. I could probably find something I want to talk about.
Please go watch it, and thank you, Netflix, for making it. I never use my notes. Thank you, Gerard Way, for making it.
It was good enough.
Oh,
I give it a
random bit.
6.
I love how the show both did and did not have a title screen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
Because about halfway through, I might have actually started watching something else. I went, oh my God, this didn't have that typical 8-hour long Netflix credits opening.
Nope. It's just like.
But every single time the name was on a black umbrella.
I like Netflix's original movie logo. How it goes into the end and there's all this trippy lights.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's cool. I like that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. That's on their original stuff. They have like a production company logo.
Nice.
Animation.
One thing I was going to say that I didn't say because I was looking at my notes. I love how they used Hazel and Cha-Cha a little bit, but Hazel mostly to instill, like, you just sympathize with Hazel almost more. He almost ends up, he's a hitman that's a better person than all of these other people that you're supposed to be rooting for.
Yeah.
And so you end up wanting to root for him, but you realize that for him to win, they have to lose.
Yeah.
And for them to win, he has to lose. And so you don't know what to think or who to root for because you just want everyone to be happy. Damn it.
I just want people to be happy. Also, Mary J. Blige as Cha-Cha was so good.
It was,
she was so good. Plain Mary J. Blige. Like, that's who she is.
But it's a great job. We get to go to new
perfect.
places and meet new people and kill them.
That line for line straight out of Deadpool.
Oh, yeah, it kind of is.
Like, I picked up on that. I was like, wait.
I think, because I saw images of Hazel and Cha-Cha before I watched Umbrella Academy in the comic. I was like, there's no way they're going to do that in the show because that would be so fucking weird. Oh my gosh, it worked. They're not quite as cartoony as they are in the comics, but still, it just worked.
Because in the comics, they never take the mask off.
Really?
Yeah. And so...
Yeah, they probably don't go... I wonder if they get as much character development.
They're not even in the first graphic novel. They're in
really?
They're...
They
from what I've heard, they're in the Dallas storyline. I've read both of these, but it was about 5 years ago, and it was when I was a substitute teacher, so...
That's the crazy thing about...
I didn't get to pay
attention. Actually, there's a couple things we still haven't talked about. One is the fact if there's a character in the show, they had some sort of character development or backstory. Like, they existed. They weren't just people in the background. These were people in this world. It's like
pretty much... Because
even Hazel and Cha-Cha had their own...
Well, down to the waitress. Mm-hmm. Down to Agnes, who you literally thought was just going to be a waitress.
Even the
truck stop guy ends up getting kidnapped and tortured because they're trying to find information. The people that had the least amount of character were the people that worked in the time place. And even they had some. Mm-hmm. Like, you had that one guy that was trying really hard, but just... was bad at his job. Yeah.
And who knows what happens to the people that are bad at their job there. Yeah. And the fact she mentions that everyone loves Dot and something happens to Dot and the whole place comes running trying to help this little old lady. He's like, even these people have personality. That's what I loved about it. And did you talk about the fact that how this random Netflix TV show had a better CGI character than Justice League?
Yeet.
Yes.
Did we mention that? I must have missed it.
I don't think we mentioned it in this. We were joking beforehand.
We joked about it earlier.
But
that's what I was saying on the recording. Pogo looked great.
Pogo and Mom. Like, the CGI for Mom when they showed up looked really good.
And just that actress did such a good job. And that one scene whenever they were going through the different, like, women who were supposed to watch. Because it was Vanya who kept, like... throwing the women and stuff like that, trying to make her eat. And then Mom gets thrown and she walks over with her head backwards.
And that kid looks so disturbed.
I would be too. I was. God.
Anyways, we'll go on forever if we don't stop.
Yeah. Optimistic about season 2.
I don't know.
Because I was like, the whole time, I was like, I wish they'd showed us more of the stuff of them as kids. And then the way season 2 ended, I was like, oh, I guess we're probably going to get a whole season of that, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Different actors for everyone but 5.
Yeah.
Which is going to be a bit unfortunate. But then again, maybe not. Maybe we don't even necessarily... Maybe they'll do it like they did this time. Like, it'll cut to the future and we'll get flashbacks of what happened.
Yeah.
To explain how we got to this point.
There was a person on Instagram who made a promo picture for Ben because he wasn't in any of the Umbrella Academy promotional stuff. And the actual actor commented on it, thanking them so much and how much he loved the art.
It is weird that he didn't because he's still a character.
I think they wanted to keep it.
That was a big surprise.
Yeah.
I'll get that. out of all the things I saw coming, that wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
Him being able to do all that stuff, even though he was dead.
And also, I'm glad that the flashback where you get to see them be superheroes was a bank robbery, which is kind of a typical superhero thing. Because in the comic book, it's the Eiffel Tower is like a spaceship or something, and it's going rogue, and they have to try and stop it.
It's very comic book.
It's very weird and over the top. It's great in the comic book, and I love that a lot of people have tweeted at and messaged Gerard Way going like, they changed so much of your comic. What do you think of that?
How much input did he have on any of this? Any?
I'm not certain, but it's like he's been on all of the press, like a lot of the press tour and stuff like that for it. But he stated, he goes, in the end, the comic book's the comic book, the show is the show. He goes, they're not the same, and that's okay, because it's like you really can't have the same thing.
Battle
like,
Angel Alita.
Plus,
it's a new story.
Novel.
It's a new story for even people that knew the old story. Like, if you've seen it, I've read all the Night Watch books, and the movies are completely different.
Yeah.
Completely
and
different.
I think it can be done. It's like, because there's the basic is the same, but they kept that same tone and that same feel, and they did a really good job. And I was going to say really quick, because of Klaus's personality, another thing in that interview that I had read, they were trying to play it like that because in the comic book, Seance floats. Like literally floats, levitates. So they tried to twist that into the show to where it was more of a figurative thing of he was a very flowy character, where he still kind of had that.
But anyways, enough of that shit.
I really loved it.
You saw Lego Movie 2.
I did.
And the only bits I've seen is someone recorded it because we have a joke at work. And someone told him that it happened, so he recorded it so I could see it. The fact that my least favorite part of Justice League is made fun of in the very beginning of that movie.
Really?
Whereas, because I hated it so much in Justice League, where out of nowhere, suddenly Aquaman's best friends with Cyborg, and he's like, picks him up and goes, "Oh, my man!" And that happens in the Lego movie.
Oh,
yeah,
my God.
they do that.
Just immediately, it's just like, oh my gosh, thank you. I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought that was the stupidest thing.
It's funny because he does that, and towards the end, they're talking. The big thing that they're trying to prevent is the Armageddon. And what Armageddon is the kids...
Mike, you're so far away from the mic.
What Armageddon is the kids can't play together without getting into fight, so she makes them put up all the Legos into tubs and puts them up. And so at the end, when Finn's disassembling his Lego sets and putting them in the tub, it cuts to Lego World, and they're all freaking out.
Yeah.
And, and Jason Momoa's Aquaman runs up and goes, "Cannonball!" and flips into the tub, and it's really funny. But yeah, no, if you like the first Lego movie, you'll like this one. I personally like the first one more. This one's good. It actually, I wasn't expecting it to go in the direction it went in, because in the trailers it's supposed to, they market it as like the sisters Legos and the Mega Bloks and Duplos or whatnot.
Yeah.
Are the bad guys.
Yeah.
But really, the bad guy is Rex Dangervest, who Chris Pratt also voices, which is supposed to be kind of a parody of all of Chris Pratt's other live-action roles.
Yeah.
Because a big thing is the brother is much older in this one now, and him and his sister are having problems playing with Legos with each other without them fighting, and that reflects in the Lego world. Like, the reason this movie is so much more darker, and they make so many jokes about gritty, dark movies, because it's supposed to be a reflection of what Finn's going through since he's older, so he's trying to make everything darker and broodier. And in the end, they're just like, the sisters Legos are like, "We were never planning anything nefarious. We just wanted to be friends with you guys." Because there's just one part where they sing a song about how they're not evil. Mm-hmm. And they were like, we even sang a whole song about it.
Oh.
And Lucy's like, you singing a song about how not evil you are just makes us think you're more evil. And the whole thing is just based off of awful communication between each other, which is what is going on with the brother and sister. And Rex Dangervest is, in the Lego world, is a alternate version of Emmett from a different timeline where he gets knocked under the dryer and gets to watch all of his friends move on without him, and he gets really upset and angry about it, and he lets that anger turn him into Rex Dangervest, and he builds it goes through every single time machine and every pop culture anything, and he uses all the pieces to create a spaceship to go back in time. He goes back in time, kidnaps a bunch of raptors, and trains them how to do stuff, and so the spaceship crew is the raptors, and then he shoots forward into the future. And that's when he shows up to prevent Emmett because Emmett crashes into a meteor and rolls under the dryer. He intercepts him, and he's like, all right, this is what you got to do this and this and this. Because the big thing about the movie is that Emmett's still the happy-go-lucky character, and everyone's criticizing that. And in the end, it's like, we realized we never wanted you to become hard and angry. Like, you being hard and tough's not what we wanted, because there's still strength in being compassionate and caring. And that's kind of the whole point of the movie.
That's cute.
Hey, Josh.
Hey, Josh.
Good morning.
Yeet bottle caps.
I was going to say something. Oh, I had
Okay, I'll stop.
I had someone at work talking about it because he saw it.
Thank you.
And he thought it was really weird because at the very beginning you have Lord Business, and he shows up and is like, oh no, aliens, well, it's okay, yeah, I'm sure you two can get along, you always do, I'm gonna go play golf, bye. He's like, but you're the president. It's like, gotta see you. And he's like, that was really weird. I was like, that was supposed to be the dad. He's like,
Yeah.
Oh, and so that's how they explain Lord
thing-
Business leaving. He's just the dad. He's like, okay, you two get along, I know you will, gotta go play golf now, bye.
Oh my god.
My favorite thing is they do they reference the "Honey, Where Are My Pants" joke from the first movie. Because at the end of the movie, the kids are outside playing, and from inside the house, you hear Will Ferrell go, "Honey, where are my pants?"
That's what that is.
And it's basically, so that's what that was referencing. The kid was just making fun of his dad this whole time.
I mean, that was what the first movie was about, basically.
So much funnier to me.
Where are my pants?
Yeah, it's really good. It's my favorite part is they have all these references to what grown-up kids what big kids can do. And at one part of the movie, Rex Dangervest mentions The Matrix, and it was like, ooh, what's The Matrix? He mentions The Matrix and Back to the Future. And it was like, oh, what are those? And Rex is like, those are movies you get to watch when you're grown up, kid. And then they do a reprise of Everything is Awesome, but it's called Everything's Not Awesome. It's basically
I feel that in my bones.
It's basically everything's not awesome, but it still could be. It's them kind of realizing, okay, everything's not awesome, but that doesn't mean we have to be sad and angry and depressed about it. And there's one line of dialogue from Benny the Spaceman. There's one lyric that's like, I finally understand the lyrics to all those Radiohead songs. And I was like, yep, I felt that. It's really funny. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about it. If you like the first one, you'll like this one.
I wanted to watch it. I never got around to it.
Stephanie Beatrice is in it. That's important information to me.
I don't know who that is.
Rosa from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Ah. I know good with names.
Yeah.
Or words.
What is language?
Something I'm not good at.
Me neither.
Well, so if you've seen the Lego Movie 2, Our Umbrella Academy, and you want to tell us what you thought of them, you can always email us at nerdlykingdom@gmail.com. Hit us up on our Twitter at @_nerddom. Get us on Instagram at thenerdlykingdom. Our
Physically
Facebook.
hit.
Yeah, like punch us right in the face.
Right
please.
in the Instagram.
Right in the Instagram. Or you can get us on Facebook, also at The Nerdly Kingdom. We'd really love to hear from you. We'd love to kind of make it more of a discussion with other people because it would give us more stuff to talk about than us rambling. And also, if you have any suggestions on what you want to hear us talk about, you can contact us at any of those because we'd love to, talk about things, especially when there's not a lot out.
Yep. Also, we have gaming podcasts now, kind of, sort of. We actually meet more regularly than this podcast, so there'll probably end up being more of those.
And hopefully I'll also have a new short film out soon.
Yeah, you have fun with that.
It's taking forever.
I've got nothing.
Because filming takes so fucking long to do.
It's a lot of coordination of a lot of people.
You're missing a glass of whiskey and a cigarette and a dark light while you say that.
I should have brought my pipe with me.
Jesus. Anyway.
Filming so fucking hard.
Gonna end this now.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Also, because of the promo that Brad made on the Instagram of y'all talking about, why did his name just leave me?
Welcome to every day of my life.
The bad guy in Spider-Man.
Kingpin.
Alicia.
Calling him Chonky. I now say Chonky all the time.